Welcome back. It is 1634. In the last one, we had Margaret come up with her own marriage scheme. Abigail didn't really do anything last year. Priscilla is getting the guys, but Muriel's getting in the way of everything. Abraham's also a flirt. Lots of things going on there. Elliot got married, so he'll probably have a baby this year. Not a lot of birthdays again this year. We have Martha Hobard, no 4, 8, or 17. Zebediah and Dakota, no 13 or 19. And all set. For the townies, no birthdays. Yeah, not a lot to go over at first, so let's just hop right into the game. All right, so the first thing happening is apparently Humphrey and Demita have decided to have a child without my knowledge, so I guess that's what's happening. They are having a baby girl. Unfortunately, she does not survive anyway, so that's just kind of the way it is. But yeah, they did that behind my back. And then we are going to, yeah, I was like, wait a second, whose baby is this? I was like checking around for some information. But it is both of their babies. So I guess, maybe they're working on their marriage. I don't know. But anyway, we are starting here in our main household. And so the kids are just having a good time. Everything has been really nice for them since Sophronia came. She's definitely the parental figure they always needed. So I want to thank you guys a lot for suggesting that she come here because I think it was a really good idea. Although, to be fair, maybe it makes a little less drama, but I have plenty to add for them. So Margaret last time was talking to Solomon, and they came up with this plan where she can marry Bernard, be his beard, get out of the house, have her own family, but also just live with her friends because she doesn't really have any suitors, and so she's struggling there. So we're going to come over to this community lot, like I said last time. Also, I didn't want the whole group to come here. I just wanted the two of them to come, but the game decided for me, I guess. So I'm just going to end that and get everybody out of here. But Margaret, Bernard, and Solomon are spending their time together so that sort of it makes Bernard and Solomon able to spend time together without as much scrutiny as if they were spending time alone together, especially after Solomon, was outed. So Margaret being there kind of adds a buffer for him and Bernard in order for them to spend time together without as much scrutiny as they would have had otherwise. So, of course, they bring Bernard in on their plan of them getting married, and Bernard's like, don't you want to get married, Solomon? And Solomon's like, it's too late for me. Like, I've already been outed, so it can't get any worse for me, but it can get worse for you. So, Bernard is trying to get to know Margaret a little better because she was always besties with Solomon. She was friends with Bernard, but they weren't super close or anything. So the two of them are trying to get to know each other a little better. And I think he just kind of doesn't really understand how Margaret can offer this. And she's just trying to inform them, like, look, you don't know what it's like to be a woman who is not really marriage material on the market. So they're just talking about Solomon had started building a little cabin off to the side away from some of the society, centers. So they're all planning to go live in the little cabin together, not really invite people over so that nobody knows that they're all living together. And kind of keep private to themselves so that Solomon and Bernard can continue their relationship. And then Margaret can, have babies, have a household, have her own little garden, and have her friends, and be satisfied for now with that. Now, I'm not saying that Margaret isn't going to find love one day, but I'm just saying that she is, because of the way she's grown up, she's just a very practical person. And she hasn't really looked for love in the way that some other people have. She has kind of been isolated, and because of that, she feels uncomfortable trying to pursue any relationships or anything. So she's just looking at this in a pragmatic sense where she's like, look, I want to get out of the house. You want to get away. You need a beard. I need a man because that's the society we live in. And so let's do this. So they do agree to do that. And of course, they do agree that they have to have babies. That's going to be one of the rules. So, if they want to keep up the charade, but also Margaret wants kids and the boys want kids too. So it's like, oh, we can all raise them together. It'll be cute. So I tried to find in the arranged marriages mod a way to have Margaret and Bernard get an arranged marriage, but for some reason that's like not coming up as an option, which is weird. So I'm just going to make them woohoo partners for now so that they can woohoo without getting a romantic relationship. And then maybe we won't like officially marry them, but we'll pretend marry them. So meanwhile, Muriel and Sella have become besties. They are hanging out all the time. Like, Muriel loves to crap all over Margaret, and Sella also now loves to, especially since Margaret is just out and proud with her friendship with Solomon. And so Sella really hates that from her, and Margaret loves to feed the fire. So they are both definitely, being mean girls, basically. And so Muriel is really just taking the opportunity to become besties with Sella because she knows that Sella hates Margaret right now. That's why. And Muriel is going to continue to cause problems for her whole life, I swear. We are definitely, I was planning out the rest of the decade, and I was like, oh yeah, Muriel, you're going to cause me some problems, aren't you? So there is that. And then yeah, I'm making them besties. I'm getting their relationship up so that they can actually become BFFs. So there's that. And I think that Muriel, why did I name these kids like this? Muriel is going to definitely be a bad influence on Sella, who already is kind of selfish and entitled. And those are not really great qualities. So Margaret loves that, and they are easy qualities to also exploit. Muriel. Muriel loves that because she can exploit that, and she can kind of prey on Sella's like insecurities about, you know, the deal with Solomon, and then her, having a fiance and then losing him, her losing her father and therefore kind of losing some status, and her mother getting exiled, so her losing even more status. When she was a child, she was like on top of the world, and everybody was obsessed with her as, like wanting her to, marry really well because of her family's position, and obviously that did not end up happening. So she's got a lot for Muriel to work with. But anyway, also the two of them are just really not nice to Margaret. You can see Margaret over here. Margaret is trying to be nice to Sella because she's like, okay, like, I understand you're heartbroken. I understand that things haven't been easy for you, but like, there's only so much I'm going to put up with you being rude to me, right? So anyway, we are going to now think about Abraham. So in the last time, Abraham actually was getting pretty close to Aquina, who was visiting for, I don't know, some reason she was there. They do hang out every once in a while. And I know that as we get closer to there being a war, situations are going to get more complicated. And I did look up, like, what were some, why is there another fire? Seriously. Some of the, like, reasons for the war were trade routes and trading stuff, and then also land, obviously, because the settlers came here and took up a bunch of land that wasn't theirs, and then also, violent incidents between the two groups that involved deaths. So I think that, I'm not really doing a good job of preparing for that in advance. But it's like one of those things where things just little things here and there, like, you can still tell that the two groups are very separated from each other. Yes, there's some intermingling, but mostly only Odalina and Bertram, and the people don't really get along super well. Like, they don't interact with each other a ton. And so you can see that there's still kind of this separation between them, even though there are a couple people who have fallen in love and crossed lines, but still, it's not like any Native Americans have been able to move into our settlement. Regardless, Abraham himself is a ladies' man, and I feel bad for Aquina because I'm telling you, he's a ladies' man. He will flirt with anybody. But he does really like her. He thinks she's cute. Is he going to be a problem? Probably. But Aquina is smitten with him, as are many other girls also smitten with him. And they just are flirting, they're looking at the sky, they're enjoying. And here's the thing is like, yes, they are going to sort of start dating, but like I said, Abraham kind of does whatever he wants. He's a jerk, but also he doesn't want to have a public relationship with Aquina because he feels like if he does so, that Humphrey is not going to be his mentor anymore, is not going to put him first in line for the captain of the guard position anymore. He feels like he knows that there is this prejudice, especially with Humphrey. We've kind of established Humphrey as a very, obsessed with perception kind of person. Of course, they're autonomously woohooing, which is exactly something Abraham would do. But, he is afraid that Humphrey would turn on him if he, dated Aquina out in public. So he's kind of telling her, like, look, we need to keep this a secret. Nobody really needs to know that we're together or anything. Like, we can just keep this between me and you. And, later we can get married 100%. He tells her that anyway. So there's that. And then we are going to head over to Humphrey's house. So here we are in the Duvois family, and we're going to say goodbye to the baby, and then we're going to have Humphrey and Demi to talk. Now, I actually think this baby is a great opportunity to ruin their marriage even more because Humphrey has one child right now, one surviving son, and obviously he wants more, but his wife has not been able to give him a child, and the children she has been able to give him otherwise have died. And so another failed pregnancy, not pregnancy, but like another failed birth, another failed child, and he is not happy about that because he wants lots of sons, right? Like his whole thing is he thinks he's the picture perfect guy for the Puritan values, and he can't even have more than one son. And so he is furious because of course he's going to blame her because that's what men did back then. And he is going to be like, you're not doing your job in this relationship. Like, you hosted one dinner party, now you think you can spend years not participating. And they're just arguing with each other a lot, and she basically threatens to leave him. She's like, look, if you don't want to deal with me, I can go. I can go find someone who isn't going to argue with me like you are. And he's like, you can't divorce me because that doesn't fit into his narrative, right? Like, he needs the perfect family with the perfect wife and everything. And so, I don't know why they just went to woohoo in the middle of their argument. Also, Jane had her first baby, which survived. Very happy about that. But yes, so I'm guessing that they are probably, maybe they have some hate woohoo thing going on. But, she's like, fine, you want to have another kid? Let's have another kid. So they are definitely arguing a lot more. And like I said, he does not want a divorce because he thinks that would look bad on him, is to get a divorce. So he is not interested in that kind of thing. He does not want a divorce. He is not wanting that. And then back home, I don't know why Elliot is here, but they're all having dinner around the table, and then Humphrey, like I said, he cares a lot about this image, so he starts talking to Bernard, and he's like, Bernard, you got to stop hanging out with Solomon. Like, I know that you're not like that, but you really should stop hanging out with him. And Bernard's like, you don't need to worry about that. He's like, you don't need to worry about me. But Humphrey does. He pressures him, and he's like, look, you've been a young adult for a while now. Like, you really should start thinking about finding a wife. Like, why haven't you found a wife? And he's like, well, actually, I have found a wife. And Humphrey is super excited. He's like, oh my gosh, you found a wife. I'm so excited. Like, tell me everything, because he loves that for Bernard. He was getting a little worried that Bernard wasn't getting married and spending too much time with Solomon. So he's like, oh, it's Margaret. And Humphrey's like, oh, Margaret. And, he's like, you don't want to maybe choose Muriel instead? She is Abraham's sister after all. And he's like, no, Margaret's good. Humphrey thinks that Margaret is perhaps not good for their image. Again, because he is very image oriented and is not... He's just like a bad person, you guys. He's just a bad person. He doesn't like her because she has the burn scars. He doesn't like her because, he thinks that she doesn't have enough connections. She's not like the person that he wants his brother to be marrying. And Bernard's like, look, Margaret will be a great wife. She's already proven she can run a household. She has already proven she can take care of kids. And, she's a great person. She's a good friend. And I'm sure she'll be a wonderful mother. And Humphrey's kind of like, I don't know about that. And he's like, yeah, but Muriel will be a terrible mother. So it's just one of those things. Humphrey isn't super on board yet, but he's then going to continue his campaign of bothering all his family members and come to bother his son, Humphrey IV. And he is very much trying to impose onto his son the same beliefs that he has of duty, of, family, of all of that, because again, Humphrey was going to become a marquis. Like, he was going to ascend in the ranks of nobility, and he came here instead, and is doing all of this to kind of establish a position of his own that is similar to a position that he had back home. And he wants his son to take that very seriously, because his son is his heir, his only heir. Like, his only child is this one child, and a boy, which he's happy about, but he's worried, like, what if this kid dies? What if this kid doesn't have kids? What if this kid, he needs to impress upon his son that you need to be like me. You need to follow in my footsteps, and you need to do what I do. And, he even tells him, like, you should look up to Abraham because he's a great kid. He's doing everything he should be doing, and he's very ambitious, and you need to be like that. And he is definitely... These dogs, I swear. I don't know if you can even hear her barking. You probably can, because she's just in the next room barking out the window at a dog that's walking by. Anyway. Humphrey's a bad person. So let's go over to Peter and Christina, who are great people and having a very happy marriage with lots of kids. It kind of goes to show these people who are both unproblematic and have great lives with a very happy marriage to each other. They have a ton of kids. I mean, I'm not trying to imply anything in real life, but, The Sims has made it a little ironic. Will you stop barking right next to me? You just came in here to bark at me. But yeah, so they have a ton of children, and they're all beautiful, and they're all doing really well, so I'm very happy for them. And they're 6 children. They've had the maximum number of children that you can have in this household. So I just love that for them. I just love that they're doing great. I love that they have so many kids. I love that they're unproblematic. We need some Sims in our lives that are unproblematic, right? Like, they can't all be drama all the time. So it's just nice to see this family doing well. I don't know why Obadiah lost all of his clothes, because I looked and I do have pictures of him in his pilgrim outfit, but for some reason I lost them somehow. Anyway, so for birthdays, which is what we're working on next, we have Martha Hobart, who you just saw, becoming a toddler. We have Zebediah Hobart becoming a child. And then we have Dakota Waldrick, who we're about to see become a child as well. And then, as you know, Theophilus Waldrick was born. So I am running out of names. I'm going to have to find some more names for Sims. But yes, so we're all very excited about the new baby being born. And we're all very excited to move forward. So next year, I don't even know what's going on next year, to be completely honest with you, because there's still a dog barking in my ear. It looks, Demita is aging up along with Peter and Christina, so we'll see where that goes. And then, actually, why has the elder Humphrey, where's Humphrey the 2? Has he died yet? Oh, I have him here, but when is he dying? Oh, there he is. Not until 1648. This guy wants to hold on to his title. I'll have to remember, because when he dies, Humphrey III has to do something, right? In order to inherit the title? I'm sure he does. Unless he just wants to give it up. But I highly doubt he'd do something like that. So we'll see where we go with there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this part. I'm going to go now because she's still barking. And I will catch you in the next one.